but you gotta keep it. I know it's hard, no, it's hard to remember sometimes.
Good evening and welcome to the Carolyn Holt Show. I am so happy you could join me today. I have a very special guest with me. Her name is Gwen Newman Jones, and she is the founding chair of the National Congress of Black Women, the Los Angeles chapter. But before becoming the chair, she was an elementary school teacher. And I tell you, I've been talking to Gwen, and she's given me some great insight that will help parents understand how to really build a great relationship between them and their child's teacher, and to help their kids become groomed for success. So I am so excited. So Gwen, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you, Carolyn. I'm so excited about being with you today, and thank you for having me.
Well, hey, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, I am so happy.
Well, you know, I talk to a lot of parents, and they really do struggle because they're trying to get a handle on how they can best help their children, and they want them to do well. Now, the great thing about your story is that you were an elementary school teacher, and in being a teacher, you said that one of the greatest aspects to that is helping the children in terms of interpersonal relationships. And in order to do that, though, you really have to be in tune to some of the things that are going on that maybe even parents don't necessarily notice with their child.
Well, you know, that's really true, Carolyn. And one of the areas that I'm really blessed in is that, number one, I'm a native of Los Angeles, and I am a product of LA Unified School District.
Okay.
I was educated at Miramonte Elementary, Thomas A. Edison Junior High School, and I am a proud Pathfinder. I graduated from Fremont High School.
Woohoo!
Oh, hello.
Okay, Fremont.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then my formal education, I attended Los Angeles City College. Then I went on to Cal State LA, California State University at Los Angeles, and I received my master's from the University of San Francisco.
Oh, okay. Oh, such a beautiful campus. I was just in San Francisco over the Easter weekend.
And, well, it's a phenomenal experience.
Yes, it is. Well, as I said, tonight we want to, now I understand that when you were a little girl, you really loved school, and your dad played a major role in what you guys did every Sunday.
Well, you know, my experience was very unique. I'm the oldest of 6 siblings, and we're all at least 11 months apart.
Okay.
So I started off at a very young age. If they had had those tear-off tabs that they have on diapers now, I would have been slapping diapers on my brothers and sisters.
Oh, my God.
So when you start talking about education, it started from a young age because I was given certain little responsibility. Gwen, hold the baby's bottle. Gwen, boo the baby. So, you know, you start off there with one form of leadership and following directions.
Yes. Well, that I can tell that because when you were talking about a student of yours named Esmeralda.
Oh, yes.
And Esmeralda went from not really being able to interact to being the fastest kid around the track, because that was the task that she was performing, but not quite to the level that you needed her to. And that was a special thing that you did that helped Esmeralda.
Well, when I look back on my experience as an elementary school teacher, one of the main things that you're going to find out, first of all, number one, the parent and the parent and the teacher, we have a special bond, and we have to work together because parents are entrusting me with their child, and I have to work build a bond not only with my students but with with my parents as well. And they have to trust you and want to believe that you have their child's best interest at heart.
Right.
And speaking about Esmeralda was a first grade student. She was really a second grade student, but our classes at that time, because we had a norm of 20 students per classroom, and so she was bounced from class to class for a short period of time, and she really didn't feel as though she belonged any place, because when you don't feel as though you belong, and at an early age, that's going to impact you.
Right.
Because you're dealing with trust issues, you're dealing with, you're not internalizing that, hey, we have this quota, we have only so many kids that can be in a classroom, and so we have to find space with you when there's an overflow.
Okay.
And so she was placed in my classroom, having been an attendance of 2 other classes. And this was a first grade classroom, and we also had a tutor that came in that was a second grade tutor as well. But one of the things that I would do in my classroom, because at physical education time, or even at recess, we would take the students out on to the playground, and especially at PE.
Okay.
My kids, I wanted them to have this sense of completion, because all of the great coaches and athletes that I have read about, when you look at Wooden, when you look at the Lakers coach,
Yes, Phil Jackson.
There was a process that they went through for completion and also building that trust.
Right.
And students have to feel as though you care about them in that trust. So with Esmeralda, the rule was you had to walk around the track.
Okay.
You had to complete that, walk around the track at least one time before you could go and work with the educational aides on the various apparatuses or programs that we had on the yard during our physical education time.
Okay.
But she was just determined that she wasn't going to do it. She would huff, she would puff, and she made up in her mind that she wasn't going to do it. Then one day I just asked Esmeralda, put your feet on my feet, and we're going around this camp. We're going around this track.
Okay.
So we went around. She was astonished, because she just thought, because she was huffing and puffing and she wasn't going to do it, because she had already made up her mind that she wasn't going to do it. But we made it around the track. The next day, the same process. But one of the things that happened on that third day, she started walking around the track herself. She would look back to give me the eye, but she just slow drag walked around at her own pace. But she completed that process.
Right.
And so how that translated into the classroom, we start seeing Esmeralda improve in her reading. It wasn't that she couldn't read, but you're not going to make me do something that I don't want to do.
Exactly.
But once that trust was built up and she saw that someone cared about her, really cared about her,
Right.
it made a tremendous, tremendous difference.
Yes.
And then she accelerated. She already had all these special gifts and talents in her, and she was a prolific sprinter. She was the fastest girl in the classroom.
And you never would have known that.
Never would have known that. And so
Yes.
what you saw was that one little success started leading to other successes. She became more interactive with other students in the classroom. Behavior started to change. So it's those little things that make a tremendous difference. And if you can basically just zero in on just one thing, it's that rippling out effect that truly make a difference.
And Gwen, what I really appreciate about your journey is that you taught in the inner city, and to have success with inner city kids who come from diverse cultures, all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of challenges, and for you to zero in on the nuance that will propel them to greatness and determine, okay, well, if I spend just a little time pressing in this direction, how, as a teacher, how do you come to that? Is that a training that you get, or how?
Well, one of the things that I think I was blessed with, in having been a product of LA Unified School District, in growing up, I had teachers that really cared. I remember my first experience as a kindergarten student, and my attendance, I had perfect attendance to a certain point. Then I got sick. And my kindergarten teacher knew that that wasn't typical of me and my family. And so she came to my home to see what was going on. And so that left this major impression on my mind that she cared.
Yes.
She danced. And I had this little red record player, little red and white record player with some yellow records. Put them on and we danced and we sung. And so that was the image that I always had in my mind because someone gave to me. And I had been blessed because all through my school experience, I had teachers that cared about me.
Yes.
And I was given special opportunities for very special experiences. And so I wanted to give back. I taught in the area literally that I grew up in.
Wow.
So much had been given to me, and I wanted to give back as well.
Right. Well, that's the thing that we want parents to appreciate about teachers is that sometimes you may not know what's going on with your student. But if you talk to and communicate with the teacher, you can find out in what areas the child can be groomed for success.
Well, I think one of the things that's also happening, parents have to feel as though you care about their child because they're entrusting you with this special gift, their child. And so they need to have an understanding that you care about them. And I think that's really critical when you're looking at someone that you don't know is going to influence your child. And with their influence, it's going to impact your child, where your child is going to impact the environment and the world that they live in.
Right.
So you want that best. And I think when you can have that partnership develop between the teacher, the parent, and the student, it leads to more success. Because what I had seen, because generally, even having had a track record at my school, you have certain families that know you, so they want your kids in your classroom because they know your strengths, and you know that they feel as though you have their child's best interest at heart, and that is truly tremendous. Because when you're looking at our kids now, one of the key words when I'm listening to television interviews or looking at television interviews and listening to the radio, one of the key phrases that is important for me to hear educators say that this is my classroom and these are my kids, not, those kids, no. You have to buy in because you're with the kids more than their parents are on a daily basis. So you have to be in tune as to looking at their eyes and seeing what look you see for that day, because you don't know what happened at home. You can tell by their moods what kind of day you're going to have.
Well, that I believe I've dropped off several kids at the gate, and some went kicking and screaming. Others went, I can't wait to be here. So you're right. The morning dictates pretty much what you're going to get.
And then, I think if parents are aware of that and making sure that when they're starting that day off, I know that it seems like it's such a simple task, but I know it can be challenging in the morning where it's that pressure. You got to get everyone fed. We want to make sure that the students have done their homework. They don't want to wear what you selected.
That's true.
And it might, you probably didn't have the opportunity of making sure everything was clean like you probably would have wanted. But it's all these little things starting the day off on a good note, because that's going to impact your child's behavior for the rest of the day.
That's right.
And when you get that call at 9:30, come pick up your child because there was an interaction or there was a problem, it's all because of how the morning started off. And many times your students cannot express how they're truly feeling about what they're experiencing.
Well, that's true, because these are, especially in terms of what you taught, these were primary children.
Because basically I was a primary teacher teaching kindergarten and first and second grade.
So they don't always have the language.
The language. So that's one of the things that we have to try to develop in them, the language of emotions and how are you feeling. Because when when you're looking at the students and you're in line and you're walking to your classroom, you have to try to establish this interpersonal relationship in the beginning so you can at least have a gauge on what's happening. And so you will know how you're going to guide your child, my child, when they come to school through this whole educational process and experiences that we have set up for them on that day.
Right. Well, now we're going to get ready to go to break in a few minutes. So.
Are you serious?
Yes. I know you're having fun, but yes, we're going to go to break.
Okay.
But before we go to break, I want to give parents the telephone number so you can call and you can talk to someone who's been there and someone who really cares about your child. The phone number is area code 323-293-3375. Again, that's area code 323-293-3375. And we want you to feel free to call with questions, comments, thoughts, whatever you'd like, because we really do want to help the next generation be groomed for success. So after the break, please feel free to join us and make comments and place phone calls. Thank you.
And complex sentences like, in the mornings when I'm usually wide awake, I love to take a walk through the garden.
Man, do I remember that. I hate to acknowledge that I remember Conjunction Junction, What's Your Function? Schoolhouse Rock. Yeah. I loved it, though. I think it made a major impact on my life because you do learn things before you actually go to school. So, but we're here with Gwen Newman Jones, and she is the founding chair of the National Congress for Negro Women. For Black women here in Los Angeles. But before that, she was an elementary school teacher. And Gwen has shared with me some of the challenges and some of the successes of being a teacher. But she has some ideas that will definitely help to groom your child for success. And one of the things that she mentioned is interpersonal relationships. That's very important for children to establish that. It's necessary for their growth and for their development. So parents, that's something you want to watch out for. But one of the other things that she just mentioned in talking about Esmeralda is completion. Learning how to complete things at a very early age is primary.
And critical.
And critical.
Because
okay.
when you're looking at success models, you're looking at people that are establishing goals and they're establishing the steps that are going to be necessary for them to reach those goals. And right now we're in a high-tech, low-touch environment. And so it's even more critical when we start talking about interpersonal relationships because you do have, at a young age, students are working on their computers and things like that, but you still want them to have that human touch.
That's right.
Because we're seeing the ramification of what's happening. Students and young people trying to seek relationships in other areas, but you need that interpersonal relationship.
Yes, and you need to learn how to complete things, and not only complete things, but in a timely manner. That's the other thing. It doesn't mean that you won't get it done, but you have an hour, and that's all you have. So if you have an hour to do something, you need to be mindful as to how to set that hour up so that you can successfully complete an assignment given by the teacher.
Well, especially when you're starting out with younger students, especially with kindergarten and first graders, you're going to have you're looking at time in a different format because you're going to have smaller increments of time. So you might have, for boys especially, if they have tasks that they need to do, you just need to give them a little bit more time, but they have to have time to stand up, run around, and exercise themselves a little bit and then come back to the completion, because if you're going to try and make them sit for extended periods, you're going to have some challenges there.
Okay, well, I think that's a problem, though, in terms of when the report card comes home and you see in terms of the discipline area that, they are a little too talkative, they move around a little too much, they somehow disrupt the classroom. How do you, as the teacher, square that with the parent? Because many times parents, they feel almost insulted that the teacher made mention of the child's behavior in class.
I think when you're looking at the age of your child and age developmentally, what's developmentally appropriate for them, because if you're looking at a kindergarten to first grader and you're looking at the time element, if they have a 15-minute assignment, you're going to have to break it down into maybe 5-minute increments. Let them get up, stretch, come back, sit down, and go back through the next process or step. Because when you're just trying to make them just sit and complete everything in one setting, it's going to be challenging. You have to give them a little break. Don't forget, they've been at school all day.
That's true. And so there's a rhythm there.
There's a rhythm. And you want to, set that up, because I know sometimes parents are tired when they come in and they're expecting the kids know what to do. And you know what? With the new educational models that we have now, one of the challenges that you're finding is that school is not the same
as when the parents attend.
No, it's not the same strategies, because we're looking at the way things used to happen, and now with the way they're modeling lessons and doing adding and showing that the process. Well, parents before, you just have 1 + 1 = 2, but now you have to go on one step further and showing how you came about and explain what you did. So there's more language that's involved.
Okay. Well, then I guess parents, that's why I said the communication between parent and teacher is paramount in terms of the success of the child.
Well, especially with us having these changing models that we're looking at the educational process for the 21st century, because it looks similar, but it's just a little bit different. And so parents literally have to go back and take a few little strategy classes themselves. That's true. And learning the language and learning the processes that they have to deal with now.
That's right. But, one of the things in your background that I find fascinating is that you got an opportunity to spend some time in the locker room of Coach John Wooden.
Oh, that was really...
And I tell you, when you told me that, I was like, wow. And I met him briefly once in life, but to spend time in his locker room and embrace his philosophy, because he's known as a great educator, not only just in terms of education, but in terms of life. And that was part of his strategy, is to teach life skills along with...
Well, when I had the opportunity of going into UCLA's locker room, it was a phenomenal experience, because having grown up with UCLA and them being champions and watching them as we grew up, and having that opportunity, because my son we had a fundraiser at UCLA, and so the kids on our team, on Escuela's team, they were playing another school, and so we had UCLA, we had their locker room. And so when I went into the locker room and to see all the strategies, those 10 steps to success, the pyramid was phenomenal to see on the wall. And when you listen to those players that train under Coach Wooden, it was a process that they went through. Just to put on their shoes, to put on their socks, they had a procedure that they went through. To put on their shoes, there was a procedure. The way you lace them up, there was a process, because what Coach Wooden was showing, that in life there's a process that you're going to have to go through for completion. And if you brought all those UCLA players back and brought them back together and watched them, put them on a bench and had them take off their shoes, their tennis shoes, and put those socks and shoes on, all of them would go through the same process, because what you're learning is completion. What you're learning, it seems like such a small task, but you're following directions.
Yes, and that's very important, especially when children are in the primary years, is to buy into these things, because in the future, this is what's going to help you. Focusing, that's going to be critical moving forward. So if you're getting all of this strategy as a young person, I think that it's important for parents to say, oh, okay, then the teacher has mentioned completion is very important, and I need to buy into that.
Oh, it's very, very important, because when you look at every phase of your life,
Yes,
it's about completion.
yes,
If you're going to succeed in life, you're looking at the steps in the process. We're going to be thrown curves, but how are you going to deal with rebounding and getting back on course?
That's
if you
right.
have that foundation that's been laid,
yes.
you have something to draw back on, because life is not fair. It's not fair for any of us.
That's right. And that includes the teacher as well.
Absolutely correct.
I hear you. Well, I tell you, Gwen, the notion about, I guess, grooming your child for success is daunting sometimes for parents, because they don't know where to go and how to even look for information or ways that's going to help their child. Now, I'm a big fan of tutoring. I believe that tutoring can enhance the experience, because the child gets to hear the way things should be done from a person that's not judging them one way or the other. But many times parents don't feel comfortable buying into tutoring. So what would you offer to make parents feel good about getting some extra help for their child in the event that they need it?
Well, when you look at different economic situations, many times when you're looking at middle class and upper middle class families, they're going to have these special opportunities where their kids are going to receive some kind of tutoring. It's nothing wrong with tutoring, because when you have that, if you can have that opportunity to be in a small group situation, people can pay attention to detail, and they can just give you those words of encouragement that you're going to need, and that reassurance that you're going to need to be successful. Don't forget, in a classroom situation, many times there's 20, 21, 22, or 23 or more students in a classroom. In the primary grades, you have a lower number. But just think, one person trying to meet all the needs of all the students. When we try to break the students up in our classroom into a smaller group situations where you do have some time to spend with the students in a small group situation. But if you can have the opportunity of giving your child that experience, it's going to be the best investment in time. And if there's a cost, the best dollar amount that you can spend that will help your child towards success. Because right now, you want to give your child as many advantages as possible.
Yes.
Working with the teacher. And also, many times the teachers will share information on programs that you might want to look into, because everything is not on the teacher. It's a partnership.
Great.
It's a partnership. And so I'm there to offer support, because I'm with your child every day. And if there's a challenge, then we need to talk about it, because I'm going to know. Because if they get in trouble, I get called to the office, and I didn't even do anything.
So they hold teachers as much accountable.
Well, see,
as
that's one of the things that I was sharing with my students. I said, if you get in trouble, I get in trouble, and your parents get in trouble, because they're going to call all of us to the office, and I know I didn't do anything. And they just look at me, because they have not thought about it in those terms, because they just think they're the only one. No, all of us. Your parent has to take off from work. I have to leave the classroom to come to handle this situation.
So that's why we need you focused and ready to go each and every day.
Every day.
Yes. Well, if you have questions for Ms. Jones, please feel free to call us here at area code 323-293-3375. Again, that's area code 323-293-3375, and she will help you. But she not only was a dynamic elementary school teacher, she's also associated with Toastmasters International. Now, how did you go from teaching to Toastmasters?
Did it go off? I'm a lifelong learner.
Okay.
I just love learning. And when I was thinking about or coming close to retirement, I wanted to continue my educational process. And one of the areas that I love is communication, and I love looking at leadership models.
Okay.
And in Toastmasters, they offered both. And it was just like teaching and working with my students, because we have clubs that have no more than 20 members, and there you might have clubs that have more, but you're working on communication skills, and it's done in such a non-threatening way that you have your goals and you have the opportunity of being encouraged to reach those goals, because we have a communication track and a leadership track.
Okay.
And you can combine both if you want to complete your communication manual. There's 10 modules that you go through.
Oh, okay.
And also we have, our program is broken up into 3 components. You have the impromptu speaking, which is called table topics, where you are given a topic and you learn to give a little mini speech in 1 to 2 minutes.
Oh, okay.
And that's tabletop. And so you're learning critical thinking skill, listening skills, and you're learning mental organizational skills.
Okay.
And then with the communication track as well, where you are doing prepared speeches. And where the first one is an icebreaker, you're talking about yourself, and then you start building, because my goal is to get out and to communicate more effectively and to share information with parents, because when we look at our future and look at strategies and speaking to parents and others about what are we going to do at this critical time that we're facing right now, where we're dealing with technology, but also we're dealing with students that still need that interpersonal relationship one-on-one. We know that we're seeing through Facebook that people are sharing that they have 200 friends or 300 friends. That's good, but you still need that interpersonal relationship where you have someone that can hold your hand, talk to you, and not get it twisted.
And listen, you mentioned to me that if you met these 200 people on the street, you wouldn't know them. And so I think that is it is an interesting phenomena that you can say, not only do I have these friends, but I have 200,000 people following me at any given moment.
And
that's a good. Really know?
Well, that's a good feeling. But there's all kind of research that has been shown and tested that shows that humans need human interaction, because when you look at the research and during war times, when they have taken young children and placed them in shelters and orphanages and things like that. Now, kids might be given just a little bit or small portions, but if people are doing it with a loving and kindness, and there's touching, it's a different kind of experience. Whereas kids are having super well balanced and well-balanced meals, but they're not getting that nurturing, the human touch. The human touch is so critical to our growth and development. But getting back to Toastmasters, developing those communication skills, and then the leadership, because leadership is in everything that we do, because many times we think, that's the President of the United States. Look at all those skills. I don't have it. But leadership takes place in the classroom when students are learning to get up and be the line leader, when they get up to give their presentations from their group presentations, when they're working in small groups, when they lead. I was going to say the Pledge of Allegiance when we used to do it, the Pledge of Allegiance, or when they're leading in programs, that's leadership. Okay. And you see those models, or even in sports, when you have the captain or the person that's the starting, they're picking teams, leadership is everywhere.
Yes. But, I don't think people think of it that way. They think there's a special time or a special class or something outside of the initial experience that you have to have in order to become a leader. And you're saying, just like with your experience with Toastmasters, that the situation dictates the opportunity?
Well, what we learned in Toastmasters, when you're looking at leadership, it starts on the club level because our roles are rotating. We have the president, the vice president. You have your sergeant at arms. Everyone has a role. And when everyone does their job, meetings run succinct and smoothly. Listen to what I said. When everyone does their job, it's just not one person.
Right.
And that's the hardest job or the hardest concept to really take into consideration for most of us because we're used to trying to do everything. And if you're not doing everything, you think other people are not doing their job. Because as we're looking at a global market now, and this is where that technology piece comes into play, because you might be dealing with someone in another country and they're depending on you to do your role. You said that you were going to do this portion of the project.
Right. And they're saying, well, my role is to do the other.
And then we're going to compile it all together.
Okay.
So just looking at this particular model, and one of the things that was really phenomenal to me, because now I'm a distinguished Toastmaster, because I embraced the entire program. I was a club president. And we have these different categories in Toastmasters. And so to reach the top, we get ribbons and claps and certificates. But to become a distinguished club is the highest honor that you can get.
Well, congratulations.
And so, I'm the president of a distinguished club for 3 years in a row. And then I became an area governor, because to become a DTM, you have to go out and use your leadership skills in other areas and leading others. And so that was one of the criteria for me to become a distinguished Toastmasters. Okay. And so then you're giving your speeches, and the leadership comes into play. So you have the communication and the leadership track, because you have to be reminded of what it feels like to be a part of a team. Okay. And then when I look at the people that join Toastmasters, you have across the board. And it's people from all industries. Toastmasters it's over 300,000 members, and the Toastmasters in every country around the world. Last year in Nevada, we had our international convention at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. People came from around the world, and on the last night of the convention, they had a dinner dance, and people were in traditional clothing. We had people from Africa, from Australia, Mumbai, from India, from South Africa, from Australia, from North America, Canada, Mexico, in the Caribbean islands. People were in their traditional dress. And the thing that impressed me so, we were all dancing to the same music. The floor was levitating. I'm going like, what is this phenomenal program? And one of the things that we're looking at now, I'm working with another member in our club in breaking our program down to introduce it to primary grade students to give them those strong communications.
This reminds me of, Steve Harvey's show, Little Big Shots, where he takes kids and they have various talents and skills, and I don't know if you've seen the show, but he does an interview with them and finds out all kinds of things from these children. So it sounds like Toastmasters has kind of taken the same blueprint and in introducing primary students to becoming great speakers, leaders and speakers, because with everyone having the opportunity of being in a leadership role, you find out that you have skills, because you know that there's certain strong personalities that are going to be in those roles many times. Okay. But when you're giving everyone an opportunity to be the president, the vice president, to get up and share their thoughts and ideas, because communication is that one area that's so important. Well, let me ask you this. In Toastmasters, do people have sweaty palms? And
butterflies in the stomach. Because, that's one area in life that 99% of the people are afraid to do is to get up. I don't care. You might look at someone and think they're so well put together, and if you ask them to come up and say a few words, they will faint.
Well, I understand that because I attended one of your meetings, and I thought I was just there to have fun and hang out with you and meet some of your friends. And at the very end, I was asked to do an extemporaneous speech about producing talk shows. And I was like, I'm a guest here, so
Well, see, that's where Table Topics comes in, because when you're looking at that impromptu speaking and being able to be cool, calm, and collected and to pull your thoughts together, because many of us have stories to share. Many of us have experiences to share with the world. And these stories and these experiences are not getting out because we're afraid to share them, to get up in front of the crowd and to let them know how you're feeling, or to lead the charge in addressing a situation in your community that needs to be addressed. And guess what? The only person that can do it is you.
Yes. Okay. Well, I understand that. Well, I tell you, if you have questions, comments, or thoughts, or whatever you'd like to share with Mrs. Jones, please feel free to call us at area code 323-293-3375. Again, that's area code 323-293-3375. Now, we're going to go to break, and when we come back, Gwen is going to share a third chapter in her life, being the founding chair for the National Congress of Black Women. So stay with us, and please come back.
Wow, Carolyn.
I love that song. I love Rihanna's Umbrella.
I love it too. I really love that introduction.
Yeah, well, I tell you, then that's what the National Congress of Black Women is all about, an umbrella for Black women to get involved with the political process and community process, and no longer just talk to each other and complain, but actually do some innovative and wonderful things that can build a coalition to change the world. So,
oh, Carolyn, what an introduction! I'm really excited because my story and my process with the National Congress of Black Women started in 2009.
Okay.
Well, it really started in 2008 because a group of us, Fremonians, had gotten together to do a fundraiser for President Obama. Okay. And our goal was to raise $10,000. And so our ticket prices were $100 for this evening affair.
Okay.
And the phenomenal thing about it is we raised the money, and that was an exhilarating experience. And then after President Obama won, a lot of us decided to go to D.C.
Okay.
And my story started with $50 and a yes.
$50 and a yes. I guess that's how you get started.
Oh, it was the yes that did it.
Oh, okay. Well, tell us all about it then. What happened?
After President Obama won, and my son was attending college at Morehouse College in Atlanta, and I wanted him to have the experience, but I was on a budget.
Okay.
And so I was looking at the cost of all the various activities for the inauguration, and everything accelerated in price. People were renting out their bedrooms, bathtubs. They were renting out their houses and going someplace else because they made enough money in that 2-week period to pay their house note for the rest of the year. And so I was on a budget, and so I decided to do some research on the computer to try to find an organization that I could afford and afford the activities that they might have associated with that membership. And many of those organizations and activities were really expensive. But I kept my search on. I didn't give up. And then I found this organization online called the National Congress of Black Women, which was started by Shirley Chisholm in 1984. I couldn't believe the cost. So I called the national office, and they said, yes, it's true. You only have to pay $50 for your membership. I immediately went online, sent my $50 in. That allowed me access into the activities that they were offering during that inaugural process, and the rest was history, because then I was more or less encouraged, or they needed someone to start a chapter in the West because they had not been successful in the past.
Okay.
And so Dr. Ife Williams, which is now the present chair of and president and CEO of the National Congress of Black Women, she asked if I thought that I could start a chapter on the West Coast. And girl, I had the audacity to say yes.
Oh, I hear you. Well, you should have, because you had the leadership training in place already. This is not something that you had to give a lot of thought to, because you already had the foundation.
Well, that's what I found out, because after I said the yes, then I was trying to figure out how was I going to do this? Because many times when you join organization, the foundation is already laid. The organizational structure is already in place. And this is something that I was going to have to come up with a concept of how I was going to have to sell this concept to friends and relatives on helping me to
be a success
with this $50 and a yes commission and promise that I said that I would do.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry, that's my phone going off. I apologize for that.
Okay.
But so you said yes, and now I guess you're in the recruitment phase.
Well, before I got to the recruitment phase, I was included. Dr. Williams included me on conference calls.
Oh, okay.
And conference calls, White House conference calls, different various national conference calls. Now, I'm a young lady from South Central LA, and it was hard for me to believe that this special blessing was given to me.
Yes.
And to realize that someone trusted me to take this step. Now, this is all this process we've been talking about, working with young kids and taking that step. I had to, take a breath and go like, what?
Yes.
I'm going to do this. And so I was invited to attend this unveiling of the Sojourner Truth Monument in April, where Michelle...
Okay, now where is the Sojourner Truth?
The Sojourner Truth Monument, which is a monument that the National Congress of Black Women were instrumental in getting placed in Emancipation Hall in the Capitol.
Wow.
And so I was invited. Now, this is... I joined in January. Now, this is April. Okay. I get this invitation from Nancy Pelosi's office saying that I was one of 1,500 people from across the country that was invited for this unveiling. Okay. And I cried because I said, here I am, African-American girl from South Central LA. I'll start crying now. And
that's okay. Because people can relate to having something bestowed upon them that they never imagined for their life.
And so here I am. I fly to D.C. again.
Yes.
I'm in Emancipation Hall, and who's on the dais? You have First Lady Michelle Obama, Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton, Sheila Jackson, all the top-hitting women in politics were there, and Cicely Tyson. She did a performance. You had all these top performer, hard-hitting women, and Dr. Ife Williams that was responsible for me being there.
Yes.
Gave me this special opportunity.
Yes. Now, quickly before we go off the air, what is the goal and the plan?
The goal for the National Congress of Black Women was created to establish a forum where Black women, African American women, and their children would have the opportunity to participate in political action initiatives, involvement of educational process, because we have College for Teens. Okay. We have the Young Ambassador Program. We wanted women to have this opportunity to become community leaders, because all of us have skills. And when we're working together, mentoring and helping one another, we know women make it happen.
Yes, yes.
So here we are preparing women for the boardrooms. We're preparing them to be leaders in their communities. Mm-hmm. We already know many women are involved in their churches, but when we come together and share our expertise, it's a phenomenal experience.
Yes. Well, I tell you, I am excited to have you share with us about the National Congress for Black Women, and I'm going to give out the number.
Can I share one more thing?
One more thing, sure.
Okay, on April 30th, we're having an empowerment conference for students in the 9th through 12th grade, and it's free at Mount St. Mary's campus, the Doheny campus, right off of, it's located Adams and Figueroa. It's the Doheny campus, and they can go on our website, and we look forward to having additional members from the community to participate, male and female high school students.
Now, this what's the age range again?
It's 9th through 12th grade students.
Oh, okay. Now, and it can be both. It does not just it's not just open to women.
No,
to
it's
females.
male. It's female. Okay. It's male and females, and we'll have speakers, workshops. We have giveaways, special baskets that Sony Pictures has donated. So really excited about this activity.
Well, if you're interested in joining the National Congress of Black Women, the Los Angeles chapter, you can feel free to call 800-895-3180. Again, that's 800-895-3180, and someone will walk you through the process, tell you about the goals, and is there besides this event that's happening in April, is there like a national?
Well, we have a national brunch and a national luncheon in September.
A national luncheon in September. And where is the luncheon held?
This year it's going to be held in Maryland, Baltimore, Maryland.
Baltimore, Maryland.
And so they can get that information also when they call on our on that line.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, I can say this: you've certainly explained how leadership not only can play a role in a child's life when that child becomes an adult. It's still a quality that's necessary. And when you start to think about things that interest you and the way that you want to impact the world and how you want to leave an imprint, leadership is still one of the main qualities that you have to have. And as you said, you talked about John Wooden and his pyramid for success. I want to say this. Listening to you tonight, I've learned three important things. If I were a parent and I had a primary child, I know that interpersonal relationships is important. I know that making sure that they complete things are important. And I also have learned that the rhythm of the school day is important. So as a woman, and as a woman leading a chapter in a major city like Los Angeles, what would you say in terms of young women getting involved with your organization? What's the main skill besides leadership that you would look for to say yes to a young lady or a young man who might be interested in joining?
The desire to learn. Desire to learn and to be a participant in the process.
And experience new things.
And experience new things, because that's what we're talking about. That $50 and a yes had opened up a world that I had no idea that I was going to be a participant in. And so saying yes and realizing that you don't have to know everything. If you're working as a team, you're going to learn new skills that are going to be part of your lifelong repertoire
Yes.
for success.
Yes, and one of the things that, in terms of being on a team, there are leaders, so you don't ever have to feel that, like you said, that the load is yours to carry. So this is something not to fear, because what was the famous line? There's nothing to fear but fear itself. And so, with the National Congress of Black Women, your goal is to inspire and to teach and to
Enrich.
Okay, and enrich. I like that too.
To enrich
Inspire, teach, and enrich.
the lives of
Yes.
African American families.
Yes, because it's my understanding that Shirley Chisholm, when she attended the 1984 convention, she was concerned that the black woman was the least represented person there.
Well, that was how the organization originally started, because after coming to California and participating in that Democratic convention, she went back to Washington, D.C., and her, along with Dolores Tucker, decided that they wanted to do something to make a difference in the lives of African American women and their families. And so the organization at that time was called the Black Political Action Committee, and the name was later changed to the National Congress of Black Women. We well know that Shirley Chisholm was a preschool teacher in the beginning.
I did not know that.
She was a preschool teacher, and one of the things that she did in laying that foundation as well, she used some of the same strategies that we talked about today, having that close contact with her parents and making a difference in women's lives. Because in talking to some members that grew up under Shirley Chisholm, she made a phenomenal impact on their lives, because many times we're looking at someone, they may not look the way we want them to look at that time, but through mentorship and encouragement, lives are changed. And that's what we do. Okay. Because if you make the mother and women stronger, families and the world is impacted.
Okay, I love that. And that is true, though. If women are stronger and they make better decisions and better choices for their lives and for their families, ain't no stopping us now. So,
none at all, Carol.
Well, I just want to thank you, Gwen. You have just really set the tone for what parents, educators, and the community at large should expect from young people. They need guidance, they need love, they need direction, and it's an agreement involving three important people. So I just want to thank you for pointing out and helping parents get focused about what it is that they should be paying attention to regarding their little ones and grooming them for success. Because there is a formula and there is a direction. And while we're saying there is a formula and a direction, we're not saying that it's everybody has to do it exactly, but some of the measures, it has to be taken in order to get the results. So I just want to thank you.
Well, I want to thank you for having me today, Carolyn, because this was exciting to get out and to share my experiences, because this journey in life, every moment is crucial and important, and we're leaving a legacy. I know I sound like I do a lot, and I really do a lot. But as a woman, your personal development and growth is so critical and important.
That's right.
To the success of not only yourself, but to the world at large, because every time we go out, we're touching someone.
That's right. And you don't know all the time that they're even noticing or watching. You were telling me the story quickly before we go off the air about the going to a market and just seeing the cultural differences and the language differences just based on where the market is located.
Well, yeah, because when you go into different markets, just take Whole Food Market. When you go into their vegetable and fruit section, it's like a world experience in itself because you have so many varieties and colors that you're dealing with, and the displays are phenomenal. And these are learning opportunities because you're encouraging the language, you're looking at the colors, you're looking at shapes, and you go into in other neighborhoods, it's limited, but you can still talk about the colors and the shapes. But when you have more variety, your language expands and everything. Even with us being on the computer, we're talking about language.
Yes.
Language is so critical, and being able to express yourself is very critical.
Yes, it
to
is.
your success.
Yes, it is. Well, again, thank you for coming in and sharing your life journey and becoming a teacher, because it's where most of us get our start in life. I know as a young person, I was totally impacted by my teachers because I didn't know as a child that if the assignment that I was given, I didn't know that I had a couple of days to work on it. If I had a speech, I learned it overnight. So the next morning I was ready to present, and I started to notice, well, the other kids, they didn't seem to be ready. So I had to learn that, okay, it's about pacing.
It's a process.
Yeah, you don't have to do everything overnight. But I just thank you for your service as a teacher, because it's one of the great and wonderful responsibilities still out there, because you take care of children in ways that parents just don't even have the opportunity to. So thank you so much. Thank you also for becoming the founder and the chair of the National Congress of Black Women, and I wish you much success in your endeavors, in your pursuits.
And I am so excited, and I'm really thankful that you had me to come out and to share a few of my thoughts and ideas, Carolyn. So thank you so very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for watching the Carolyn Holt Show tonight. I invite you to come back with us next week. I'm not sure who the guest is, but I'm sure it'll be something inspirational that'll take you from misery to magnificence and from subpar to spectacular. Have a wonderful evening, and I look forward to talking to you again next week.
Oh.